we're live again, and I'm still at Nelco Comics. I'll do the twirl around the camera for you to see. There we are. Everyone's in the store. And here's my equipment. Oh, maybe you're not able to see, but there we go. And we're ready to go with part 3 of the special album release edition with our special friends Jake Siberon and John Tuohy. Here we go. Hello, it's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong, and it's a good day from me to you at Nelco Comics in San Antonio, Texas. And yes, I'm here in person. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm here in person, so please come and visit us. Visit me and say hello, shake my hand, buy an album. Right, so because you're in the live chat with us, you are here for part 3 of my album release special. Yesterday I played through the entire album, which is titled MissOriented Metaphor, aka MissOM4, aka the concerto, and I offered up some anecdotes. Today we feature the players. Just 2 hours ago we had Dean Parks, the man behind the guitar behind all the wonderful guitar playing you hear or you've heard on the album. Today we have 2 other guests, and you know who they are. So thanks for joining the Players Edition Part 3. Drop everything you're doing and stay glued to my YouTube channel, please. So I just want to direct you to the album cover first, MissOriented Metaphor. Here, and I wanted to give you a quick understanding of how I came up with the title of the album. So MissOriented Metaphor is a combination of several words and a concept. The words oriental came to mind, disoriented, lack of direction perhaps, and the Cassandra metaphor or Cassandra complex. So it's a Greek mythology, really, and all Greek mythologies always have a heroine, a hero, some curse, a prophecy, and a king somewhere. So Cassandra happened to be the daughter of the king of Troy, and Apollo fell in love with her, typical, and she, of course, did not reciprocate. So Apollo, when he fell in love with Cassandra, he said to her, I shall give you the gift of prophecy. And she goes, and okay, but I don't like you very much. So Apollo said, how dare you, I'm going to curse you. You still have the gift of prophecy, but no one's ever going to believe you. So that's the Cassandra complex or Cassandra metaphor. And I picked that because I thought it was quite interesting. When I started this album concept, I had in mind a concerto structure or format. And it would be the theremin and the synthesizers as solo instruments being supported by orchestra or ensemble or a combination of orchestra and ensemble / band. But I had recommendations about how I should proceed, whether calling it a concerto was a good idea. All these suggestions came flying in from various orientations. Some weren't convinced. Some immediately put money behind it. I hope you can still hear me. We have a group of people who have just entered the comic store. So here is the album cover, and I have an album fun fact if I can find it. Not this one. Here's the album fun fact. So if you look carefully, there's a quotation on the album cover. I'll stretch it out a bit. Taken from the Library of Congress. I was visiting this building a few years ago, and I decided I had to take a photograph of this quotation. It's you can find it in the Jefferson Building's North Corridor, and the quotation was extracted from Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 2, Act 4, Scene 7. And it goes like this: ignorance is the curse of God, knowledge the wing wherewith we fly to heaven. Take that. So how this album concept came to be, I was focused on documenting and refining my theremin techniques in new work, and the concerto idea also accommodated, as I mentioned before, my continual experimentation with interactive synth performance techniques, which I hope, with the theremin compositions, I hope other thereminists will also want to partake/play my works. Anyway, demos were made, as Dean explained earlier on. I created demos in Logic Pro, which is my digital audio workstation that would be true to the final product, and scores were created for the tracking sessions. As you know, after I did Dean's, a good friend, bassist Brian Mooney, who had initially reached out to work with me in live performance in 2018, and subsequently also worked on my music videos recorded on tracks 1, 2, and 5. There are 6 tracks, but his busy schedule prohibited further work, so a long process of auditioning bassists and drummers followed, and the search ended at the doorsteps of our good friends, drummer Jake Siberon and bassist John Tuohy, who fearlessly navigated their paths. Jake played on all tracks but track 1, and John played on track 3, Frisson. I've been pronouncing it Frisson, which is a positive burst of energy. John and Jake remotely recorded independently of me on receipt of the tracks and scores, whereas Dean, as you know, you heard earlier on, he recorded in real time as though we were in a recording session, but via video conference. So let's bring in our guests, Jake Siberon and John Tuohy. Say hi, guys.
Hey, what's going on? Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for making time for this short interview about my album, and thanks for celebrating and supporting my album release with me. So, Jake, as far as I know, you're still in Oregon, and John, you're in New York somewhere, Brooklyn, if I'm not
Connecticut,
wrong.
yeah.
Connecticut. My apologies. Further north. So they're on the west and east ends, and I'm right smack bang in the middle. Oh, well, why do you know? So, nice. Yeah, Jake and John, we span America.
Amazing.
So I'm gonna play the first track, Frisson. Frisson is preceded by a little extra bit called Liberty. So we'll play the entire track, and I will bring us to the Bandcamp site. But John and Jake, you're still also on the screen. Our viewers, please let us know that you can see us and hear us clearly. And if you have any questions, please put them in the live chat. Questions about any answers or responses that Jake and John provide, or about the recording process, etc., etc. So let's play Frisson. Here we go. I think we're good. Playing it now. Sorry, my connection went a bit, so I had to get up and reconnect. The physical connection, it wasn't a software situation. So I disappeared for a while, but so that was Liberty Pre-Song, everyone. I hope you can still hear me clearly. Okay. So Jake, John, I interviewed you on Music and Chat when you released your album 4.8 as a duo, Zero Sync, a while ago, when it dawned on me how wonderful it would be to have you guys play on mine. Did you have any inclination of what might be installed when you said yes?
Not
Uh-oh.
really, no.
John? I can hear you, Jake. John?
You got me? We good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Well, for me, no. I didn't know. I mean, obviously we had Mile Marker Zero has played with you before, so I know some of what the sound of your music would be, but obviously new compositions are a totally different thing, right? So I didn't know. All I knew was that Jake and I play very well together, whether it's in zero sync like you were mentioning, or if it's Mile Marker Zero. So I knew if he was on a track I was going to play on, I would know sort of how to approach it. I didn't. So that gave me some confidence for sure.
Well, you guys did a great job on the track, and I'm so glad that you said yes to me. And Frison, however you want to pronounce it, was the first track given to both of you with the instructions, please record as per suggested lines and also give me your interpretation. So Frison goes through several fields and changes and is primarily 5/4 in nature, time signature with a 4/4 end. What might have been your first concern when you first heard the track? Did you have any of those, or did you go, oh, piece of cake?
You want to go first, John?
Yeah, you take it.
No, when you sent it over, of course, it has the demo drums on there, which is, I believe was maybe some loops or a previous drummer. I wasn't sure.
Loops.
But I thought it was really easy to just sort of take exactly what you had there. And I think a lot of times when I'm working with artists, especially if I'm not developing the track with them, they'll send me demos. And generally what I do is I kind of just play exactly what the demo has on it, mainly because when the artist has programmed it, or or even if they borrowed the loop from like a loop library, they're writing to it and they're practicing to it and they're listening to it over and over again. So the idea is like if I were to sort of pop in like, well, here's how I would do it, generally that gets sort of a large, big rejection because, the feelings have already been developed by the artist based on that. So it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was simple, but, I just was able to take what the demo had on it and I transcribed it and I sort of played what was exactly on the demo with the flair of an actual musician. But what's crazy about those loops, especially in Logic, is that a lot of times they're kind of created by actual samples of real drum grooves from somewhere along the line. That is to say, it isn't like back in the day where it was like you were sending me like an 808 track or like a full-on MIDI drum track, which is like really stiff and awesome to listen to kind of thing. But nevertheless, it's still a loop that goes around and around. So, trying to put in like my own drum fills and a little bit more dynamics within the feel of the playing was all I really had to contribute. Otherwise, the part itself was sort of written for me, and that made it a little simpler to just sort of glue myself into the existing track and the composition.
Well, did a great job with your fills and all. And yes, you're right. It's interesting, isn't it, how as you build using the musical blocks, be it percussion in nature or musical in nature or supportive in nature, such as something that harmonizes, you do build as a composer. And when you bring all these building blocks together, this is how you hear it and how you see it. And you get accustomed to how you hear it and see it, so to speak. And when it's altered, it doesn't quite have the same feel anymore.
Right.
And I'm really grateful that you saw that and you did precisely what you did, because it came out just brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
How about John? Well, you mentioned, the time signature. Luckily, Mile Marker Zero has played a lot in 5, so time signatures are not really the impediment to a song like this for me and for Jake. But a lot of the times, what it is does take me a little bit is to sort of understand where the composition comes from. And if I don't have a lot of touchstones with another artist when I'm asked to play on something, I have to sort of understand it before because you know, I'll have, like Jake said, I'll have a bunch of ideas. Oh yeah, well I think I should maybe do this, and then but it's not drawing necessarily from the same spots. So what I had to do for this track was I had to sort of, obviously I did what Jake did too, which is, all right, let me hear what the suggested / program parts are doing. What's their role? What as playing the bass on this? What is it? What do I want to? Okay, so the bass is sort of like, to me, it reminded me of like the term ground bass, like they did in old classical compositions, because even though it's a more syncopated version of that in most of the first half of the song, it reminded me that that's sort of the thing that's rhythmically sort of pushing everything forward as everything is laying on top. So as you know, I didn't know when someone says, you know, do your own thing, but also do mine, there's a spectrum, right? So it's like, so me would be maybe here, and maybe the exact part that is programmed would be here. And trying to find where that lies is the tricky part for me. You know, I had some ideas initially that I sent to you that I was like, okay, so if we're going to be a little bit looser in this area, here's what I'm thinking of playing, some different rhythmical values. And then you gave me feedback. It's like, okay, that's maybe towards the latter half we do that, but at the beginning do this. So, but that's the thing you need to find. So to me, that was the challenging part. Was where is that balance? And every artist that you work for, you want to try to find that if you're going to contribute. You know, I am not in the business of just doing whatever John Tuohy wants. You know, that's for my project with Jake or whatever. That's for MMZ. But when you're working on someone, you want to fulfill their vision. And so once I found where that was, then it was like, okay, let me go back and do another pass in that vein, and we'll see where it ends up. You know, so and I'm super happy with the result. I think the song sounds great.
Well, I'm super happy. I'm super duper happy about the whole thing. I was going to ask you about art time signatures, because when I spoke to Dean this morning, and you know, he's had numerous projects over 6 more decades of doing session work and live performance as well. He asked me something to this effect, whether I felt an odd time signature was natural. For example, is 5/4 natural to you? So I'm asking you the same question.
Yeah. I'm going to say yes. I'll go first. Yes. 5/4 is very natural, as is 7. But I'm going to credit this not towards any innate thing that I have, but it's the fact that I listened to Rush and Frank Zappa a lot as a kid, and just they would do these songs that are in all sorts of different time signatures, but yet if you do it right, it doesn't feel awkward. I'm not personally a fan of. There's some artists I like to do it, but for the most part, I don't like when it feels like awkward and like beats are cut off. It should still, if it's in 5 or 7 or 9, it should still feel like it is moving forward at a very human pace. So yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, 5 can be done right, very natural.
Jake?
Yeah, exactly. I think odd time signatures are. John probably feels the same way. Like, you know, you start off in music and they bring you through all those kind of like basic functions, you know, 4/4 and feeling time out that way. And you know, I don't know the exact quantifiable number, but let's make one up and say like 99% of music is 4/4 or something.
Right. 4/3.
You know, but like or in 3, yeah. But you know what drew me to odd time signatures was the fact that it was odd. I remember getting I think it was my freshman year of high school, I got a Rush book, like a piano book of like Rush transcriptions, and seeing all the time, you know, and I was a band kid, so like I was playing a lot of music in band, you know, like concert band music, and most of it is in 4 or 3, and so seeing that 7. I remember seeing the first page with a 7 on it, and I was like 13 years old, and I remember going, what do you mean 7? How can that be? And then that opening up that door to those conversations with my music teachers just really just exploding in my mind, and after that it was very much, okay, I really want to just focus on music that's weird, and that's how that happened.
So
So
how do
very
you,
comfortable.
likewise, I'm in your team, or I'm on your team. How would you then describe to someone who's more used to, even numbers? How would you say, here's how you might begin to learn how to appreciate, not necessarily learn, but, slowly get it and then eventually enjoy it?
Oh, I have an easy one.
Oh,
You
you do?
just play them, yeah, you just play them some songs that are brilliantly written in a particular time signature. 7 Days by Sting is a great example of 5. It doesn't feel like it sounds like a Sting pop song, but it's in 5. That's a great one. Or, Money, Pink Floyd is in 7/4, and so, or Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. You just play them a song. You have them, you can even do. I do this sometimes with some students. Is just you have them listen to it so they know the song enough, and then at the beginning of every measure, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you start to get a feel for it, and then maybe that's a good way to kind of get and just have it processed.
I like that. Jake, do you have any tidbit?
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to circle back to what John said before, which is that if it feels right, then there really is there's no reason to explain it. You know what I mean? Like, you could, so like, there's like two schools, right? Like, there's one where you're teaching a musician how to count in 7, and obviously you got to go through that kind of the mathematical part of that. But if you're just teaching a person to appreciate the odd time, I almost find that the conversation is rather moot, because all they, the general listener is just really worried about how they feel about it, like what, how they're going to connect to it emotionally. So a lot of the times, like, for example, Money is John brought up Money. It's a very, very popular song amongst non-musicians. I mean, Pink Floyd was one of the biggest bands in the world. If I were, my dad might be a Pink Floyd fan. If I were to be like, did you know Money was in 7? He's gonna look at me cross-eyed and be like, what are you talking about? Like, because it doesn't matter. It's one of those things. It's like, if it feels right, then people are gonna appreciate it. And then kind of after the fact, like, did you know it was in 7? And if they want to learn more, they will. But most of the time, if you're going to present an odd time signature to your general public, to John's point, again, it just has to feel the right way.
So you're saying eventually the counting falls away, and the appreciation is what's fulfilling the person's enjoyment.
Yeah, the entire picture, as opposed to coming up really close and looking at individual brushstrokes or individual colors, like, standing back and there's the Mona Lisa kind of thing. That's kind of like where people are at most of the time when I'm having these sort of elevated musical conversations.
Elevated? All right. Here's the next question. So, in terms of odd time signatures, do you have a favorite one? Is it 5/4? Is it 5, 7, 9, 11? Do you have a favorite? I find myself liking 5 a lot. That's what I noticed. I always gravitate to 5. Then I realize I'm doing a 5 again.
It's probably 7 for me. There's so many songs I love that happen to be in 7, 8 usually.
Okay.
If you want to be pedantic about it, it's usually the 7/8 grooves that I gravitate towards the most. Although I will say, Jake knows this. I'm a sucker. I have a few things that I'm a giant sucker for. Just any song that has a particular quality. For some reason, it like gets past my defenses, and I just love it. So one of them is a power ballad. I love a power ballad. I don't even care if it's bad. I'm into it. I love shuffle grooves. Anything that's like a 12/8 shuffle, I'm into. And the third one is when you play a song that's the rest of the song is in 4/4, but in the chorus or whatever, it drops a beat. A brand new song just came out by this band, Lake Street Dive, which is they're very popular sort of I don't even know what kind, I don't even know what you call them, indie rock,
like
pop.
What would you? I would put adult contemporary.
Adult contemporary maybe, but they just put out a new single that's racing up one of their charts, and the chorus is in 7. And I was like, oh, I love the song. It went back and I actually really do like the song, but like that for whatever reason gets straight to me, and I don't know why. And then you can't trust me to evaluate whether something's good or not if it has any of those qualities, because I automatically think it's good.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I have a question about. Oh, Jake.
Oh, no, I was just gonna. I mean, I was just gonna give you my. I mean, I was gonna go an extra layer down
Oh,
because,
oh,
like,
sure.
I enjoy. I personally enjoy 5 as well, but my favorite kind of 5 is the one that feels like 4. And what I mean by that is taking, you know, taking a quarter note, let's say,
Okay.
and dividing it into 5 as opposed to, you know. So then what ends up happening is, like, it is in 5, but if you can organize your composition in a way where the person still feels like it's in 4. So let's say, here's an easy way to break it down. It's
Okay.
a bar of 4/4, but each of the quarter notes is divided into 5, as opposed to, you know, sort of doing it binary-wise, like, or that might not be the right word.
Give
But,
us
you know,
an
that-
example. Can you play an example? You know, like beat an example.
Oh, sure. So if this is my quarter note.
Okay.
Oh. So you have like so you're still feeling like there's a backbeat is the right way to say that, but it's micro 5.
Yes, and if you listen to our Zero Sync album, the song "A Father's Sin" is in that. It has that 5.
Oh, that's right.
I call it a 5-lit, right?
So it's almost like.
A quintlet. I don't know.
Okay.
That's how it feels, and that's kind of got
Alright.
that offbeat,
So it's 5.
funky J Dilla thing, which I
So
love.
it's 5 to 4, kind of like 3 to 2 would be kind of idea.
Yeah, it's the whole
Alright.
nested stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's a good explanation.
Yeah.
So, John, I have got a question for you about your bass. I remember when we started tracking for Frisson, you mentioned that you had a 4-string bass, and of course, on my music demo, Brian played a 5-string. So, if you didn't have to retune your bass to hit that low C, what would you have done? If you still had to execute the C in quote-unquote, meaning it could be an impression or a suggestion. Oh, there we go. We got balloons now.
All right, nice. All right.
It's not working.
Oh, was that because I did that?
That is-
Was that why?
Oh, yeah. Can you do?
Something happened.
Yeah, I think.
I triggered it.
I know the double thumbs would give me the fireworks. It's not working. Can you do your raise the hands again?
Right, raise the roof and that. Come on, Skype. Let's make this work. No? Okay.
Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. Yeah, what would be an alternative that you might have considered?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of things. I did, like you said, you know, for the track, I did actually, in that last section, I did detune my low E string to C and then shifted the rest of the pattern up the neck to accomplish that. If not, I mean, there's always a bunch of different things. I mean, it could be you played a fifth of the chord instead of the root. You know, maybe instead of C, I played G instead. Maybe you play it up an octave. It's going to depend on how the section falls with the different instrumentation, I would say. So if I didn't have an option to do that, I probably would send you 3 different versions. Okay, so here's me playing a C up an octave. Here's me playing the fifth. Here's like what do you feel works for the composition? So something like that, I think.
So do you have John, a favorite segment in this track?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter half and the second half of the song. That's my favorite part because
The one with the low
it has
C?
Yes, yeah, and the part where it goes into 4/4 because I just love. I mean, I like the whole song is great, but I like what's fun about that is when I'm playing bass or guitar with Jake has a very specific time feel that I love, and I knew that in that section, even when I heard it in the demo, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna be able to sync up very easily on a part like this because it's right in Jake's groove, one of many Jake grooves. Wheelhouse, I should say. And so I was like, I think this one's gonna be really nice. And it's like once I got Jake's drum, I was like, oh, this is what I want. So the feel of that part feels incredible, and especially with all the cool effects and sounds around it. It's one of my favorite things to listen to.
Thanks, John. I was gonna ask Jake about his groove, but before we do, let's have a quick listen of that end part that you're talking about. Ah, come here. I don't have a mouse, so I'm struggling with my fingers. There was definitely a lot going on in that end section with the Wurlitzer and Dean's guitars going through a lot of effects, including the theremin. So I think we picked the right alternative to get that low C, because there's a lot going up on top. What do you think?
Agreed. And one of these days I'll buy a 5-string and I don't have to worry about it.
Oh, there you go. Hey, I'm thinking of doing an album with hardcore punk.
Perfect.
I told Dean.
Count me in.
Okay, all right. I met a friend of mine I was staying with in Fort Worth, and her young son, who is 26, is an aspiring drummer, and he introduced me to hardcore punk, or at least a few bands in that genre. And I thought, well, okay, let me consider this. I might do an album.
Love it.
So, yeah, thanks. So, Jake's Groove. Talk to us about Jake's Groove, please.
Trademark.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's funny. I feel like yeah. It's one of those weird moments where I was like, oh, John really does know me well, because that tempo and that groove is like right there. That's one of my one of my favorite places to play, and that's mainly because it's perfect in the hands, and the feel of it for all kinds of different sort of different subdivisions of the beats. You know what I mean? How do I explain this? Like, it's sort of like if you're familiar with the clarinet, like the clarinet has 2 registers. There's a low register, and then when you hit that little octave key in the back, you can go up to the upper register. But there's this moment right between high B flat and B natural, where it's called the break. And that's a very difficult moment to play over, because you're moving from like 2 or 3 fingers to all your fingers, and it's the same kind of thing in drums, but it's all in the hand. So there's a moment where you have to sort of switch from using wrist to more using the rebound of the drum as well as your fingers. And there's a specific tempo where it can get really, really tricky, where you don't know if you're going to use wrist because it's too fast to use wrist, or you're going to use fingers, but it's too slow to use fingers. So I only say all that to explain that tempo and that feel is perfect. It's like the happiest medium of all those two things between fingers and wrist. So yeah, it was a fantastic moment, and it was one of the more relaxing moments in tracking the drums, where I got to really put in a lot of my personality on it, because it was so open-ended as far as what my job was in that moment. So I guess the groove, yeah, it was really great, and locking in with the EP, what'd you say, you used the whirly on that, or
Yeah, I did.
yeah, or the Rhodes or whatever, yeah, like
Yeah.
the groove that you got out of that was really easy to lock into as well. So it made for just such a joyous moment in the studio, that part.
Thanks, you guys. Yeah, again, it's one of my favorite tracks because both of you are on it, and I can feel the love.
Yeah.
Isn't
There
that
we go.
what?
Come on, Sky. Let's go. No? I'm not doing the heart rate. Oh, well.
Did I try? What do you guys do?
Yeah, it's not working. I don't know why. Anyway, speaking of your groove, Jake, I'd like to play Hubris and chat a bit about it. So let's find Hubris. Hubris is the one where I play tin whistle. And I really enjoyed writing for it because I don't know what it is about playing the tin whistle. And if you were here in the viewing audience yesterday, you would have watched me play my app tin whistle. There's something about just stepping away from the keyboard and the theremin where I can move wherever I want to, and all I'm doing is holding a tiny little piece of tin, and I'm putting a breath of life literally into the instrument. So it was a pleasure for me to write for it. And what was interesting, for those of you who may not know already, when I started recording it, speaking of the happy medium between the wrist and the fingers for Jake, the happy medium for me created an accidental line in the final recording for the track. My finger slipped because with the tin whistle, it's a similar approach as the clarinet. You blow a little harder and you get to the next octave, but there's no lever or switch here that I can do. So I happened to slip a finger while I was recording, and I thought, sometimes accidents make interesting lines, right? So when I slipped at the moment, I thought, well, I could go that way instead of this way. So I went that way, and that's what ended on the track. So I'll play it for you, everyone out there. Again, if you have questions for John and Jake, please put them in a live chat. I'm sure they're excited to have to respond to your interesting, curious questions about the way they play the instrument or how they played their instrument on the track. But here's Hubris, and it ends with Isabilt. So here we go. So that was the entire track, people. Hubris and Isabel. So, stop. Wrong. Stop. So yeah, each of the tracks in MissOriented Metaphor consists of many movements. So they are not your traditional 3-minute or 4-minute long exercise, but they could be, as in the finale track, almost 10 minutes long. So, but I keep things moving, don't you worry, I'll never bore you to death. I do like change, I do like rapid change if possible, because once you get me going creatively, my mind just moves on to the next thing again. And Jake has plunked himself in his vehicle. Now we can hear him. Where are you going, Jake? Can't hear him anymore. John,
I can't hear him. I'll speak. Yeah. I'll speak for him.
Okay.
He's going to be flying to my house.
Oh,
I don't know if it's not yet, but he's going to be because we have the MMZ CD release show on next Friday. So he's gone. Oh well.
So he's going to be there ahead of time. Yeah. All right.
He is. We're rehearsing a lot next week. So. I can't speak for him on that song, obviously, but that's why he's getting in the car, I think.
We'll wait for him to reappear. I hope he reappears. Did he say he was going to reappear?
There he is.
Oh, all right.
I see him trying to log on here.
Okay. I've never had this happen to me. There's always a first time.
Hey, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
So. Yeah, don't be sorry. We understand from John that you are heading to the airport because you're flying with him on the East Coast to start rehearsing for your CD release on Friday.
Right, yes. We have, not quite the airport yet, but just a bunch of things. But anyway, I'm happy to stay on the call.
Yes, please. So my question, of course, it's about hubris. And you know, my penchant for odd time signatures ready, and I like textual change. I just basically like to make change. Round the corner is change. Any opportunity is there's scope for change, and I love to alter the, how to alter the feel of a piece of music, even if there's similar musical elements, something in there provides change or rhythmic instability, something that makes the listener have to pay attention. So I guess it's not kind of, sit down and drink tea and read a magazine type music. So, Jake, hubris was in compound duple mostly, and you became a little bolder and hubris after recording a few tracks, and you thought you got a couple ideas you wanted to put in the bridge, which I really loved. Did the fact that hubris was in compound duple kind of make a difference in your finding the pulse of the piece and being more relaxed in playing around with it? Was it something that could have been in the category of being in your groove?
Yeah, very, very much so. When I found that, again, because we were transcribing from the loop that you had sent, I noticed that you just when you did the demo, you just wrote to the loop, over and over and over again, but it didn't match sort of the mood changes, or at least the dynamic changes of what you were doing harmonically and melodically. So I thought that maybe just sort of adding a little, not again keeping the sort of the skeleton of the groove intact, but just changing what I was doing to sort of increased emotion, or like for example, like a lot of the time was kept on like a foot hi-hat, just like a kind of loose, kind of breezy hi-hat, but then like there was a really big, that it got bigger and sort of I organize it in my mind as first chorus because that's what we tend to do as songwriters. But so when you got to more of actually what it did was when the harmonic progression changed, when it went to the sixth, I felt like it got bigger and stronger, so that's when I kind of moved that hi-hat part to just the tom-toms or something along those lines, just to give the overall piece a bit more variety, at least from the percussion area, but to also sort of support and enhance what you were doing harmonically in the piece.
I really loved it. Like I said, if I have not said it before, I'll say it again, and probably a few more times after this. But I also like the little swagger you gave in the second part of the bridge, after the toms.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That part I kind of just like. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I know that it was just sort of matching. I was trying to do my best to match what you were doing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I did that.
I didn't get that last bit about matching because you froze. I think it's still frozen.
Oh. How about now?
It's still frozen. Let's see. Yeah.
I seem to be entering a bad area, I guess.
It could be driving through a tunnel or something.
I'm back.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear. We can hear you. We just have a still frame, which is fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Oh, there you are. You've reappeared. You're reanimated.
Yeah, I think I was changing towels, probably what happened.
Yes, so you're saying about the second part of the bridge that you're matching something or other?
Yeah, just reiterating that I was trying to match exactly what the mood was of your harmonic progression, and specifically the melody and the instrument changes and sort of what you added and what you took away. Just trying to make it seem like I was part of the whole writing process, even though it came after the fact. Just to making sure that when I do these types of things, I'm always trying to make sure I'm supporting the composition as much as possible.
Well, you did a great job again. I really loved what you did. So I'm going to ask you a question about your setup. Did you preserve the same setup for the entire album, or did you change a few items around? And if you did, why did you do so?
No, it's always the same setup. For the most part, I might tune something differently, or maybe use a different snare drum or a different cymbal.
Yeah.
But because my room is my room and my mics are my mics, there's not a lot of versatility there. So it was the same throughout the whole recording process. And being a full-time teacher, like it's sort of like I don't get to work on a lot of stuff, so there's not really a lot of reason to change my setup.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your album was really the only thing I did this winter, so there was no reason to change it for any reason at all. So it was just locked into to your album for the duration of it.
Much appreciated. So I have probably one last question for the two of you, because I know you probably reach Jake soon, the airport, and your time is precious. And the question is, was there a track you felt particularly connected to from the album?
Oh, I thought you were asking John first. Yeah, no, actually this was the last one that you just played, Hubris. Hubris really, I had, at first, I thought, because I didn't realize you played other instruments, I thought that the tin whistle was a patch on your keyboard.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, these patches have gotten really amazing, you know? And then it took me a few, seconds to be like, oh no, there's no way that's a keyboard, there's no way. But I just really love the atmosphere and the vibe you created with that track.
Thanks.
It's funny that you played that second because that probably is my favorite track, followed by Galore, which is a wonderful piece as well. But
thanks.
I love the energy and sort of the spirit of hubris. It's just a really cool work that you did there.
Oh, thanks, Jake. John, I hope you had a chance to hear the other tracks too, besides Prison. Did you have a particular favorite?
Well, I have listened to the whole album, and I recommend everyone do what I did also, which is go to Bandcamp and purchase it, and add a little tip too.
Thanks, John.
I like it all. I want to listen to it a few more times, but it's hard not to be emotionally engaged with the one that you recorded on.
Yeah, of course.
So that's so for me, Frisson is the one that after listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, this was the one. Although that may change when I like really digest the album a lot. That may change, but it's hard to divorce that, from when I was writing, working on the parts and all that stuff. So.
Thanks, John. So we don't want to keep you guys too much more. Sorry from your tasks at hand, but we've totally, and this is my standard outro. We've totally and utterly enjoyed having you on the live stream, and wish you exciting projects ahead. Of course, I want to interview Mile Marker Zero about the album, but I hope that it goes well on Friday. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it'll go off spectacularly. So. But please give my regards to the rest of the members. Well. And I've got it in my calendar, so I'll find a time and day to chat with all of you.
I'd love to.
Should I run that by both of you or John?
Yeah, we can. Let's talk off air and see if I can get the guys together. It's always a process. So.
Okay, cool. So viewers, if you have no questions, we're gonna say goodbye to John and Jake for now. And thanks for joining us, viewers, on Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong. And I should do this. I forgot to do this earlier on. I still can't activate the heart emoji.
Oh, there it is. It worked.
Oh, it did? I didn't see it.
It just worked. That was great.
So everyone, as John said, MissOriented Metaphor is available on my bandcamp.com site, and they're bonus items. It's only downloadable. I don't have physical CDs. I don't intend on carrying inventory because I'm traveling too much. So please download if you'd like to support me. I appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel, and have a great rest of the day, everybody, and have a safe Independence Day long weekend too. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.